Greetings, people of the world. Matthew back with you for the continuation of this blind Let's Play of The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. And what I'm showing you is something that, unfortunately, is not my best work. I'm giving you post-production commentary due to the fact that over the course of recording today, I had some really bad glitching in my recordings. And thus, because of that, I didn't want to show you all the really bad glitching that was going on. So basically what I'm showing you today is a summary of everything that I was able to accomplish. So, fortunately, I'm glad that I chose not to continue on with the storyline today, because if I did, I would have just looked absolutely terrible. So, my main priority was to take care of the insects, was my first priority, and then was to help out with the hot spring water quest that I had come across earlier that I had tried to help out before but wasn't really able to succeed in assisting in with the Gorons that required the hot spring water. So we went after the 5 insects, first of all, that I had still not obtained, which were the female snail, the 2 mantises, and the 2 beetles that I had not yet obtained. The first one I already knew where to get, which was the female snail, because a viewer of mine spoiled the location of where the female snail was. It was located back in the Sacred Grove. More specifically, it was located in the area just as you enter the Temple of Time. So, yeah, considering that I was doing this as a blind run, this is stuff that I would prefer to have found out on my own, either by doing it myself or by taking a video review or by looking up game facts. Because it is a blind run, I really, even though I'm grateful for having someone help me out, I'd have preferred to have found this out on my own. So we got the female snail, and since I noticed that there was a place to use the Dominion Rod, I made it a point to go ahead and make use of it. So, we moved this owl statue, and we took it out of its little hole, and then lurking behind it was this treasure chest, which contained a piece of heart. And so with that now taken care of, I figured logically it's that since there was a statue for me to use with the Dominion Rod, there had to be in one on the opposite side, and I was right. So we can now control this one, and no sooner do I pull it out that I'm suddenly being attacked by another Poe. Yeah, just right out of nowhere, boom, a Poe comes flying out at me and just wants to get a piece of me. But I made it very easy for him. I was deciding to give him a piece of... I was gonna get a piece of him and tell him, like all other Poes, "You just got bleached!" And so, with him eliminated, we then went back to Hyrule Castle Town because I had a feeling that Chariots of Fire would make a return because we had just completed the City in the Sky, and I was right. So, I got 2 letters from Chariots of Fire, and then after having read them, I continue my pursuit of the insects, because the first one was at the bridge to Lake Hylia, and so the closest place for me to go was to Castletown. And as you can see, this is where some of the glitching really got bad. The worst glitching was in the first video that I did when I was going for all the insects. This is where the glitching was the worst. But thankfully, I was still able to play the game on my TV screen, and my computer records whatever I'm doing. So, we caught this mantis, and then we went to the other side of the bridge to go after the female mantis. Sorry. So, after having walked on what looked like a translucent shoe, I then beat up these skeletal dogs that were traumatizing my horse. And this is where we discovered the female mantis. And so, after doing a bit of rolling around, we were able to catch the female mantis, and then we were down to 2. There was only 1 pair of insects left to obtain, and the first one was located in Faerun Province and was quite easily to obtain. As you saw, it was very visible because it was hanging onto that tree. But we had to chase it around for a bit because it didn't want to be so easily caught. It was easily visible, but not so easily captured. But once it settled down, we got our hands on the male beetle, and as you can see, this is where things really started glitching on my recording. In fact, it was so bad it just was a frozen screen for like 4 minutes. But thankfully it unfroze just in time for me to get the female beetle. And having successfully accomplished all that, it was time for me to return to Princess Agatha's castle. So, the princess was no doubt going to be very happy with the fact that I now had all of the remaining insects for her ball. And I figured it was kind of appropriate for me to get this for her because she could have a proper New Year's ball for 2014. So, once again we got her comments about how she would like to take a bath in snail slime, though I can't quite understand why she would do that. But she once again expressed her gratitude. And for successfully completing a pair, she bestowed upon me another orange rupee. So, all that was left were the 2 pairs that I had not yet found. So, it started with the 2 manti. So we began by giving her the male mantis. And so, obviously she was very excited to have this one. This was a little weirder, this little quote. "If I had stickers like that, I could slice onions better." Which, quite honestly, I don't understand why she would say that, because of the fact that if she's a princess, shouldn't either her parents do the slicing of onions for her, or if she's a princess, shouldn't she like have a maid to do the slicing of onions better? I mean, it would kind of make sense, right? I mean, why should a princess have to slice onions? I know it's kind of a weird thing to say, but then we gave her the female mantis, and got the, also again the weird quote. She expressed her gratitude, and we had yet another pair completed. So we now had 11 out of the 12 pairs presented to Princess Agatha, and by virtue of doing so, another orange rupee. Of course I had gotten a purple rupee beforehand with the previous insect. So now it was time to give her the 2 beetles. And so she was happy to now have a beetle for the first time as opposed to a stag beetle. And this time she says, "I want to use that shiny shell as a pillow and fall asleep." Yeah, that's quite funny, but I think insect shell as a pillow would be rather hard instead of nice and soft. But then we gave her the last of the 24 golden insects. Yes, how happy she was to finally have every single one of the insects that she was looking for. "This means all the bugs have made it to the ball safely." Yes, it certainly did. So, there was a very special thing to get out of this. "And everyone has a partner. They all look so happy. You worked very hard. Your efforts will be forever passed down in the Insect Kingdom, brave knight. Please accept this declaration of honorable citizenship and the memento that goes along with it." So for our first time we got an insect for her, we got a wallet that gave us up to 600 rupees. But now, we got the giant wallet. It's a symbol of a distinguished citizen in the Insect Kingdom. It can hold up to 1,000 rupees. And yeah, the look of shock on my face pretty much says it all, doesn't it? So thus, this task of helping out Princess Agatha was brought to a close. And, since I had a sufficient amount of money now that I reached that far, I went back to the Castletown Mallow Mart, where Gramophone Head was more than happy to see me again. And so, yeah, I was trying to figure out why they gave this guy a gramophone horn for a head. But, in helping him out, we got the magic armor, priced at 598 rupees. This is quite a bargain when you think of how valuable your life is. What's a few rupees to stay alive? Yeah, one plate of magic armor, 598 rupees. Trying to beat a blind run on a new game that you've never played before? Priceless. You got the magic armor. You bought it. You are smart. You bought it at Mallow Mart. Wear it and your rupees will become magical. The armor will protect you, so if you get hit, you lose rupees, not health. If you run out of rupees, the armor will go dormant and your movement will become impaired. So yeah, the magic armor does come with a bit of a disadvantage, that you'll be bleeding through rupees, which means you would definitely need to build up a lot of them if you were planning on doing something like fighting Ganondorf, which of course we will have to at some point in this game. And on my way out of town, I decided I wanted to go pay the house call doctor a visit because he still had yet to pay Telma's tab from before. So, I wanted to try and scare him again with Midna. And yeah, I'm sure you'll agree this image looks hilarious. Yeah, she's not riding my back anymore, and now she's riding the house call doctor's back. Yeah, I just had to leave that in here if for no other reason than the fact that it looks so hilarious. So we moved on to the next section of recording, and it started with me wanting to try and figuring out where we could get the hot spring water to help out our two Goron friends. It started with speaking with Goron, who decided he wanted to be a sugar daddy, the way he talked about Ilya there, the way that he did. Yeah, it was fortunate that she resembles her mother. So after 20 minutes of talking to Gorons in both Kakariko and Death Mountain, I required a video review that led us to the Goron Elder with the dark skin. Yeah, because he's easily camouflageable in a place like Kakariko Village. So we finally found him after the video review, and he talked to us about the particular Goron that we were looking to help, the first one of two, with some hot spring water. And so it was now our responsibility to go and help this guy out. So this dark-skinned Goron Elder, whose name we never found out about, tells us that he will prepare hot spring water for us to douse that particular Goron that was in need of help, who was in distress. But the way of going about it was perhaps one of the craziest things we'll ever see. Having to carry a massive barrel full of hot spring water with the Malamart logo on it over my head across the most dangerous part of Hyrule Field. Which meant you have to go around the Goblin Archers, and you know how dangerous those guys are if you're not good enough at this sort of thing. But apparently the Goblin Archers were the least of my worries, because the next thing I knew, I was being chased by a freaking bird. And it wasn't done there. I wasn't only being chased by Goblin Archers and Condors, I was now being chased by Levers. And I had a couple of close calls there. I was able to escape the clutches of that Goblin Archer. However, the Condor was relentless, and unfortunately for me, as we went along, so were the Levers. And it would be this trio of Levers that would cause me to abandon the run. And yeah, I was not happy about that. So I knew that I had to go back to Kakariko Village, and I thought the easiest way to do this would be to summon Kiara. Or so I thought. Because once I went over to Kiara and tried to mount her, I couldn't move. Yeah, somehow in trying to summon Kiara while trying to transport hot spring water from one side of the Elden Field to the other, you end up getting stuck if you're trying to get onto Kiara, and I couldn't get off. This is where Midna queued in and asked me how I was going to carry the hot spring water, and asked me what I already knew, but I couldn't move. I was stuck, and there was nothing I could do about it, which meant I was forced to reset the game, and that made me very, very mad. So yeah, I was forced to reset the game, and then I had, but don't worry, I saved it right after I got the magic armor. So, following another failed attempt, this was my third try at it, and this time I'm just fast forwarding through it so you can see how I pulled it off. This time I was able to find a more direct line, trying to get as minimal of an opposition contact as possible. Yeah, the closest time I got hit was by those pesky Levers, but thankfully they gave up. Good thing, too. As I made my way over to the bridge, I was able to get in contact with this Goron who had been distressed for quite some time and noticed that I had some hot spring water held over my head, so I threw it at him, but I almost threw it right over his head. And if that had happened, then, oh boy, would I have felt stupid. But thankfully, enough of this stuff landed on him that it revitalized his spirits and brought him back from the dead, essentially. And so, with his rekindled enthusiasm, expressed by how loud he was grunting, yeah, that was quite a bizarre sounding of grunts there. But it wasn't long before he came back. Not only did he have hot spring water with him, he also gave us a thank you gift. Another piece of heart. And since I already had 4 of them, that meant by obtaining this one, my heart total was now up to 14. And so I decided I would pursue this particular Goron to get some hot spring water from him. I knew where he was because I knew where his son was. So, yeah, he remembered us, and of course we're visiting him at his stall. Yeah, and they are now able to open up their hot spring water again, their hot spring water stall. Unfortunately, I only had 2 rupees, because I had already burned all my rupees at Malomart, spending my money on the magic armor. So I had to start farming for rupees. And fortunately for me, I was able to find a pillar at the south of Castletown with a dig area on it. And so after digging in, I suddenly discovered that I was in this place what had water and a whole bunch of Tektites. And unfortunately for some reason, I don't understand why, they, I guess the wolf couldn't really make an attack, a proper attack, in the water, so I was forced to kill off the Tektites one at a time. But once I was finished, I was able to get another special treasure chest. And so, then, crossing over to get to this particular treasure chest, we cleared some room for myself, turned back to human, and for getting this chest, we got ourselves another orange rupee. So yeah, definitely useful, especially for returning to the Goron. However, a new problem came around. I didn't have an empty bottle and he wasn't wanting to give me one. So that meant I had to burn my superb soup, which I had no problem doing because by this point in the game it was old and it was cold, so... Yeah, exactly. But now I had an empty bottle and I wasn't afraid to use it. So, after speaking with the Goron again, I was able to buy some hot spring water from him. But now, of course, I had the situation that I had before. A number of episodes ago, I was trying to give hot spring water to the Goron who was trying to dig his way through the landslide. And unfortunately, my character Mattia wasn't wanting to get the job done. Because by the time he got there, when he tried to give it to the Goron, he would just dump it out. And I would try this over and over again. In fact, I tried this 5 times before it finally dawned on me what I was doing wrong. Because in my previous attempts before that, and in the 5 attempts coming up through this particular section of recording, it was still the same problem over and over again. I could talk to this guy, and we could offer him the hot spring water, but, and I didn't even realize this until before my 6th attempt, that the water had already gone cold, which meant that I had to move faster, therefore I had to turn into a wolf, and I had to pick up the pace a bit. So, on my 6th and final attempt, because at this point in time I no longer had enough rupees to buy another bottle of hot spring water, I was able to turn back to human and move my backside as fast as I could. This time, I did have hot spring water and not just regular ordinary water. So, we were able to give this guy what he had long been waiting for. And so therefore, by virtue of the fact that the hot spring water was still actually hot, we gave it to him. And as you can tell, he was very happy about that. Look at the big smile on his face. And so with his renewed energy, away he went into digging into the rock slide. So that pretty much brought everything that I wanted to do on today's recordings to a close. But there was still one thing I wanted to do, and for those of you who are wondering why I am wearing the Zora armor, well, back in that dig area where the water was, I wanted to see if there was any additional treasure to be found. So I put on the Zora armor and the iron boots to see if there was anything besides the orange rupee. But turns out that there wasn't. And I also decided that I might as well put on the magic armor for demonstration purposes. And as demonstrated, when you have it on, you bleed through rupees in a hurry. And yes, suddenly the armor goes dark, and it almost looks like you're wearing the iron boots, even though you're not. But yeah, you definitely need a big supply of rupees in order to make the use of the magic armor effective. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I wanted to show you from a day where my videos were glitching so hard and so bad. This was really the best I could do for you guys, and I just want to apologize for that. And I'm hopefully going to try and get this situation resolved, because since this is a blind run, I really couldn't redo what I did. So this was really the best I could do with the circumstances I had, but hopefully things will be better next time. So I'd like to thank everyone for watching the continuation of this blind Let's Play of The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, and when I join you guys again, I will hopefully have proper recording, not going glitching all the time, and we will, and I do mean it this time, make our way to the Twilight Realm. So until next time everyone, take care, and I'll see you soon.